Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. And if you're new here, welcome to you too. I'm looking forward to connecting with you in the comments, interacting, and finding out your viewpoint on things. As anybody can tell you that's been here on the channel any period of time, I encourage that, and I definitely really enjoy reading the comments. It's very enlightening, very entertaining at points, and I gotta say, I've really enjoyed just interacting with everybody here so far. So. Without too much further ado, we're going to dive into tonight's topic, which is covert feminism. Now, I'd gotten this idea from a number of different videos and things that I'd read and seen recently, one of which was the Megyn Kelly interview with Anna Kasparian. I'm sure many of you might know who Megyn Kelly is, formerly of Fox News. And she was beginning to talk about her professional life up to the point where I think in sometime early to mid 30s, she met her husband and started having children and began to encourage women to put career first. And hopefully, down the road at some point, you'll find a husband and kids, and basically saying, I did it, you can all do this. And completely ignoring the fact that one thing is abundantly clear, and I think even to Megyn Kelly, it is somewhat clear that that is the exception and not the rule. And basing your approach to life on hoping to be the exception and not the rule has never been particularly successful. It's rather idiotic. Generally speaking, if you spend all your time chasing a career, running around doing the college experience, having your body count skyrocket through the roof, and getting involved in all sorts of experiences where basically you are reducing the value of sex and intimacy, and then at some point you want to turn around and pull out the conservative card later on. That is basically what covert feminism ultimately is, in my personal opinion. And I guess we can't really go too much further into this until we define how people actually view feminism. Now, some people still look at it the very old school way, and if it ever even really was this way, maybe, but that it's about equal opportunity. You know, the equal opportunity to say own a business or have a corporate job somewhere. And really, in my opinion, most people, especially most men these days, here's what we've been confronted by with feminism when we've experienced it. And I'm going to see if I can break this down for you. Generally speaking, what I've seen of that is that their idea of empowerment is encourage sexual promiscuity, rampant hedonism, dishonesty, fraud, all sorts of different things that basically lead to the breakup of the family. And then it's an entire focus on self to the detriment of everything else. And if it had remained as something where you simply had equal opportunity and you weren't encouraged to break your word, run around, sleep around, and get involved in all sorts of things that are damaging to your life, then I suppose that would be a different story. But we all know the real truth about that. We all know that that is not how it went. We all know that social media builds up and encourages this stuff. So it is just spread rampantly, basically like a disease. And it's the version of feminism that I just described to you, which pretty much anytime you open up your phone or ever get on social media, you get exposed to that. And they're basically trying to psyop you and encourage you to go down that road. I mean, follow the worse angels of your nature rather than the better angels of your nature. So just to kind of get that out there, that's really how most people view feminism now. At least most men and any women that are genuinely conservative probably see it that way. And the problem that I had with the whole situation with the whole Megyn Kelly thing is, you know, you can do all this and she's treating it like it's not an exception to the rule to attempt to put career first and then eventually find a guy and find happiness. And that is assuming 10 years down the road, that's still the story we end up hearing from that situation. We have no idea. I mean, 10 years down the road, they might be divorced. We don't know. We have no idea how that's going to play out. And that would be a big question, you know. I mean, you can say and espouse all these ideas about that, but if 10 years down the road it didn't work, then I guess it's a pretty much a disproven theory. But it isn't even just that; it's the whole It's really the whole ideology of promoting that sort of thing, because most women that are going through this experience, they want to get into corporate America, they want to be involved in all this stuff, they end up diving into the college experience. And generally speaking, the college experience is where most women's body count goes astronomically through the roof. Now, I realize there are going to be women that are like, what about the men? What about the men? We're specifically talking about covert feminism in this video. So, sure, there's a lot of things we could talk about self control when it comes to sexual impulses when it comes to men, but we're not talking about that specifically in this video. Believe me, I've covered it in other videos when we talked about the corn industry and only fools and men being the ones that contribute to that. But in this particular video, we're going to kind of focus on what it's about, the covert feminism. And unfortunately, and from what I've been reading and studying up on and looking into with all of this, most of the covert feminists are people that were raised conservative, maybe raised in a church, and have this whole background that they kind of default back to as they go about exploring the covert feminism, as they go into college or they get older and they start to go out clubbing and get involved in all the hookup culture, and their body count starts to rise. And then they want to kind of default back to conservatism, but they begin to realize that most of the men begin to take a look at what's going on. They start to notice that the body count issue is a real issue here. Like they're realizing, okay, you got the double digits, triple digits, maybe. I mean, it's climbing up there, but then you're turning around and you're telling me, well, I'm a conservative because I was raised conservative. And you have to understand something. When it comes to the body count, let's just cut right to the chase on it. Body count is an indicator of what you actually believe when it comes to your sexual experience and the way that you handle things, whether or not it is something that is meaningful and carries any weight to you. And if you're throwing that around as something that you are simply doing recreationally or to have fun with just literally any old person, but it's not in the confines of a marriage or a committed relationship, then it doesn't carry any meaning or depth to you. And men immediately identify that. When they see that, they treat it like it doesn't matter to you, because despite your words, your actions show that it doesn't matter. So they then treat you that way, and they kind of tend to treat you like some version of a hooker. And I've noticed that a lot of women, especially ones that are the covert feminist types that want to default back to conservatism, a fun word to say, that's a tongue twister for you. The ones that want to default back to that, they tend to get very upset about this, because they're like, but wait, I said I was raised conservative, but you have to realize that if your actions emulate somebody that doesn't value that, you're treating it like it's free, you're treating it like something that you can hand out to everybody, people are going to treat you essentially like a feminist. They're going to treat you like somebody that does not matter to, because your actions have demonstrated that it doesn't matter to you. Now, you could say, well, people can change. And I've had people that were drunk the day before telling me that they're now reformed and not an alcoholic anymore. And I'm like, okay, 5 minutes ago was not change. Years ago, maybe, cutting loose of the people that you used to be involved with when it came to drug use, alcohol use, sleeping around in hookup culture, and then spending a long period of time where you're not doing that, and then getting away from it and cutting all your ties, maybe. And that's a big if. It takes time. It takes time to basically decondition yourself to behave that way and decondition yourself to think that way. So when it comes down to that, the covert feminism really is just the people that, generally speaking, raised conservative. They start to espouse these ideas and they start to explore it and they want to incorporate it in, not realizing that to some degree they have been completely corrupted by it and turned into some other version of themselves. And they're not being genuine or self-reflective to a certain point, because how can you be? I mean, if you're trying your best to justify that, you really can't do much beyond that. But if you were to ask my stance on it, I'll kind of give you a little bit of a take here. I've never really been opposed to equal opportunity, in the sense that if you want to go out there and you want to start a business, okay, great. If you want to break free of a marriage and end things between your husband and kids, you should carry the weight of that on your own. You shouldn't be able to push the weight of that onto somebody else. You shouldn't be able to leave with cash and prizes and a whole bunch of rewards for doing what you've done. You should carry it the way a true feminist should carry it, not some sort of alimony, which is essentially a maintenance payment from your ex because you just can't somehow seem to make it in life. You should be able to make it in life. If you're going to carry that on the way you want, if you're going to basically say, I want to be the full version of a feminist, then you need to be responsible for yourself and everything that you do. And that is not anybody else's responsibility. You can't claim to be that and shove that off onto somebody else. So, in an odd sort of way, I'm the ultimate supporter of feminism in the fact that I don't believe that they should get any form of chivalry, any form of assistance from men whatsoever. They should be absolutely free to be girl bossed and empowered, so long as they carry it all themselves. And I guarantee that is a deal that they will soundly reject every single time. But I say all of that because if you're going to be logical and reasonable and honest about it, that is ultimately where you need to end up with that. So, long story short, covert feminists are pretty much all over the place. And I've begun to notice that I've met more people that claim to be conservative and argue with me about these points in some cases than even people on the left who are who you would think would be even more extreme. I have met more people that are, more women in particular, that are church going, claiming to be Christian, claiming to be conservative, claiming to be very traditional, that espouse more feminist ideals than a lot of the other women that I've ever encountered ever on the left. And it is kind of odd that it's kind of begun to spin that way, but at the same time, I would say maybe not. Maybe not. Because it finds ways of kind of working its way in and enticing people. And I have no problem with somebody who claims to be a feminist and actually lives that, acts that out. You know, basically doesn't want help from a guy, doesn't want to get a monthly payment from some guy to be able to live their life, but they want to run around saying how independent they are and that they're a girl boss, which is just hypocritical. It has nothing to do with male or female. I just can't stand hypocrisy when it comes down to it. I try to not be hypocritical myself, and when I see stuff like that and people talking about being a girl boss and being independent, but they're still leaning heavily on a man to support them, I'm like, well, hypocrite much? I can't really take it very much. That being said, I did encounter somebody actually a few years ago, quite a few years ago, when I made the foolhardy mistake of just not being very careful who I was dating. I was slowly becoming red pill. And she was bragging to me about how independent and how much of a girl boss she was, until I realized that much of her bills and everything were getting paid off by the alimony her ex was giving her. So he's basically giving her a monthly allowance. It's allowing her to live. And she's not able to girl boss in any way, shape, or form. She's completely living off of him. And if she had managed to manipulate the system to get this guy stuck giving her alimony, she probably wouldn't even have a home. Yeah, that was not very welcome. A very welcome observation that I made when I explained it to her, but you know, the truth is the truth. So anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments about this. As usual, I find them very informative, entertaining, and just great stuff to read. So, and also for those of you new to the channel, those of you still here that for some crazy reason have not subscribed and are not liking the videos, helping me with the algorithm, or hitting the notification bell, I will find you. And I will beg you to please do that, because that would be awesome. So whether you do or don't, that would be, I mean, just come on, help out. Let's do this. Let's get this thing growing. And as always, I look forward to talking to you all again soon, and also hearing from you in the comments. Have a great night.